Services, and also who's the director of the Office of Recovery.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I was asked to begin with a little bit about what the office actually does. For some reason, I think this audience knows more than the general public generally does about what we do in the Department of Treasurer's Office. So we are often confused with the duties of the auditor's office. That's the first thing that we usually have to clear up. What we do in our office, we collect taxes. I think maybe everybody here may have written a check to our office. So we collect taxes, we bank all of the money for the county, not just the taxes.
I'm so sorry. I have a great question. They want to really hear you.
Should I?
No, it's
Okay.
just, I'll increase the volume. I'm so sorry.
All right. So we collect the taxes, we bank all of the money, and we manage the investment portfolio. Our investment portfolio is generally around $2.2 billion. So Franklin County is doing okay. So in terms of the banking, every county facility that brings any sort of revenue in, of course, has to bank it. So that includes parking garage fees, that includes child support, that includes court costs, anything that the county brings in, we bank it. We have some very, very large, very healthy bank accounts. In the investment division, we have two types of funds. We have active funds and we have inactive funds. All of the inactive funds are what stays in the major portfolio. And that major portfolio generally brings us in anywhere between 30 to 50 additional $1 million annually from what we earn from that investment portfolio. The active funds are the funds it takes to run the county monthly. And that's somewhere between 75 to $100 million. That covers payrolls, lights, parking fees, all of that stuff. And that we keep in the STAR fund, which is run by the Star Ohio. And it's a very liquid fund that we can put money in and out of. We'll always get the best rate on it, but it's immediately available. And we don't have to pay any fees to be able to pull that money back and forth. So those are our major functions. Since coming to office, it just seems like since 2017, the world's just gone to Hades and so it's been lots of opportunities to find ways to be responsive to the community and to make the best of whatever tools you have available. Our toolbox is mostly found in the Ohio Revised Code. And the Ohio Revised Code is 34 chapters, I believe. But some of those chapters are 4 or 5 books long. It's a massive index of information to get through. I could be in office 20 years and still never read every code in the Ohio Revised Code. But what I have been able to do is dust a few of those books off and find some tools that were already available that we weren't using. And that's been a magnificent journey. We've also found out that there's a lot more that a treasurer's office can do than traditionally was being done. I will say our motto in the office is continuous improvement, building on the best. My predecessors have been stellar, every last one of them. And I'm blessed to be in touch with the majority of them, starting with Rich Cordray, Ed Leonard, Ron, who was the interim treasurer, and Wade Steen. All of them are part of my toolbox, and they have all been willing to give me information and their historical perspective. So it's been a very good journey. So shortly before the pandemic, we were very focused on building out our IT. That hasn't been a big thing for the treasurer's office. It wasn't like a technically focused place. It was manuscripts, manuals, making ledger in items. So we started looking like, how can we expand with technology? That led us to also, how can we learn more with data? So since being there, I have added a IT department and a director of data analytics and a data analyst. And we are hungry to find out what all of this information we have, what story it's telling us. What we were observing was there's a community of people who have spent their livelihood and lifetime paying off their home. Those were the people most at risk of losing their homes, and that's what we were seeing going into foreclosure first. Individuals that managed to pay off, because when they started, a lot of them didn't have an opportunity for a 15-year mortgage. So these are people who successfully paid off a debt for 30 years, and now they weren't able to feel secure, safe in their home because taxes were more than they had planned for on the onset of the purchase. There was a program in place called PTAP, and that's Property Tax Assistance Program. That started almost 30 years ago, again under Rich Cordray, I believe. And that program is focused on individuals at a certain age and of a certain income. That income recently raised to $36,000 a year. That doesn't cover very many people. We don't want to get to that point in our lives and try to live on $36,000 a year. So unfortunately, not many people were able to get assistance from that program. So we expanded that program when we started something called STAR, Sustain, Teach, Advocate for, and Retain. And as Carol has said, well, actually, I gotta tell you, I can't go into a room if Carol's in it and I don't have to tell somebody about the program. She is literally our largest cheerleader. She has people calling the office. She will go on the road and talk about it. Even if I'm not there, she'll get it behind the microphone and talk about it. It is a donation-driven program. We have not asked any taxpayer money be utilized for this program as of yet. When we had our first year, we had $150,000 within 3 days, and we were able to pull 32 people out of foreclosure. Because of the magnitude of people at the end of the spectrum, so far the program will mainly focus on taking individuals that are about to go into foreclosure and pulling them out. We are able to pay court costs, the taxes, get them current, and any other impediments legally that are threatening them to lose this home. The retention part has to do with matching people up with services in the community that will help them lower the amount of money they're putting out to live so that they can maybe have more money to put on their taxes. That includes finding supplements for insurance, food, pet care, pet food, clothing, lawn care, house maintenance. And there are so many resources. And the interesting thing we learned about this group of people, they went through their life pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. They weren't out here looking for resources for assistance. They literally have no idea what's out there. They will buckle down and pay their taxes and not eat. They will make sure their pet has food if they don't. It's an incredible community of people that are so deserving of assistance at this point in their life. And they're proud, they're determined, they are just this great solid group of people that the world has just gotten to a place that what they planned for, they can no longer afford. At this current time, we're seeing that many citizens are struggling. We went through a sextennial update. So every 6 years, property is totally reevaluated. Every 3 years, we have a triennial update where they, do look at the values and they may adjust the ratio here or there. But every 6 years, everything is totally reevaluated. I think, so the last time I bought a house was 2018. I started the process in 2017. And being a licensed real estate agent and a real estate appraiser, there's no way in the world I was going to battle with anybody to buy anything. I'd find a house, I'd put an offer on, and within 24 hours, I had 16 offers, right? There were people that were putting offers on homes without stepping foot in them because they knew that that was the only way they were going to get an offer in front of the owner. So we all know what happened during those years. Property values went up because market value is based on the sale price or whatever you're able to get for that home determines market value. There were many people who that didn't translate for. And during this whole process, they don't understand what's happening to the value of their home, what's about to happen to the price of their taxes. They don't get any of that. And they find themselves now in a position where they pretty much been out-taxed from their own homes in their own neighborhoods. We get to speak at many, many forums about this, and what I have pretty much taken from listening to people when it's their turn to talk, myself and the auditor, and oftentimes many of our representatives or senators will talk to the community. At the end of our spiel, they talk to us. And that's when I learned the most. What I pretty much garnered recently is that there's a lot of, I hate to use the word confusion, but I can't think of a better word. There's a lot of confusion as to what part of government offices is responsible to what part of services to citizens. When they come to see us, I spoke at the onset about my office often being confused for the auditor's office. People will come and say, why is my tax bill so big? Why did you increase my tax bill? That's an opportunity for me to explain to them a little bit about the process. Your values are determined here, and for checks and balances, the person who determines the value is not the person who bills you for it. That's to make sure that, we're working on separate ethic reasons, and we're not going to charge you more because we get more. So we help them break that down. Then they want to know, well, why can't you give me an exemption? Well, that part comes from your legislative body. And your legislative body is made up of senators and representatives, and then we explain that to them. These last 6 or 7 forums that we've attended, I'm just give you a couple of examples. There was one woman who struck me the most, and Brian's working with her now. When she stood up to speak, her whole body was trembling, and she was trying to explain to us what was going on in her personal situation. On the auditor's site, there's one page where you can pull your historical values. So hers went from 2019 to 2024, but from 2019 to 2023, her property value was $58,900. So you see 58,900, 58,900, 58,900, 58,900, 58,900, 206,500. She was a very diligent taxpayer who didn't wait to pay her taxes twice a year. She made payments on her budget pay plan. She was paying $85 a month. That payment is now $350. She can't do it. This house belonged to her grandmother, belonged to her mother. It's been paid off for 2 generations. And now she's at risk of losing it. That's what STAR is for individuals like that, who through no fault of their own, who through no foresight of their own, ends up in a position where they could now literally be homeless. If we can't keep people in the home they paid off, you really can't run out and buy another home. And we don't have enough affordable rental units. We don't even have enough rental units. There's nowhere for people to go. We got to do the best we can to keep them where they are. One of the additional initiatives that we took on as a result of all of these forums is we decided to start an advocacy kit to help citizens learn how to empower themselves through the real estate tax process. We can make it available to you online because it's for any and everybody. Inside of the kit are templates and scripts, the contact information for all of the state senators, contact information for all of the state representatives. Beginning in about the 3rd quarter of 2023, there were at least 8 to a dozen bills introduced to assist taxpayers with paying their taxes and or putting caps on taxes for seniors. One of the most profound bills I thought was 70 under 70, where you could make $70,000 a year if you were 70 years old and you've been in your home 10 years, and it was going to put a cap on your taxes. All of these bills have been sitting still since the end of last year. They're not moving. They're back to congratulating sports teams and honoring highways, and there's, a few things going on, but not where people are bleeding out. So we wanted to help the everyday citizen learn how to contact their representative and let them know they're in a lot of pain right now. They don't have time to wait for the special committee that was formed that isn't even due to give their report until December. We still have another collection, and after this second collection, individuals are going to fall into the delinquent tax status. That means there's going to be a 10% penalty added to a bill they already can't pay. If they aren't able to pull out right away, they get an additional fee and additional interest charged once their tax lien is sold. It becomes almost impossible for anybody to right this boat once it's tipped over. So we're hoping all citizens will get involved in calling the legislative agents, in calling the 135th General Assembly, and writing them and letting them know here in Franklin County, especially, we are a unicorn. We're the only county in the state that's experiencing what we're going through. The other major big C's, Cleveland, Cincinnati, they're losing population. We're gaining population like nobody's business. So the more people we have, actually the higher real estate will be based on supply and demand. As long as the supply stays low and the demand stays high, we're not going to see a rent. We're not going to see a break in taxes. We're not going to see a break in purchase prices. These people need help now. The last tool that I'm going to talk about that got us into that Ohio Revised Code is a thing called linked deposit. So the state right now has a linked deposit that they use for agricultural purposes. They call it AgLink. It's to help farmers. Linked deposit provides for at least 6 different opportunities to use the investment portfolio in our office to make certificate of deposit investments with banks, offset 3% of our revenue, and transfer that to a 3% discount for a loan of an individual in one of the 6 categories. The category we're currently focusing on is affordable housing. So we are helping developers and builders decrease the cost it takes them to build these affordable units. They are rental units for the most part. We do have a few that are doing duplexes, and that they're also combining efforts with the land bank and the land trust. We'll be able to subsidize those and bring down their interest rate by 3%. So if they were building on a 5% loan and we go into a linked deposit with their lender, they'll now be building on a 2% loan. And when we're talking in the millions of dollars, it makes a huge difference. And this is going to allow them to get a product to the market at a rate where they're still going to be able to make it affordable for individuals to rent. So that's our last tool that we like to talk about when we go on the road. Did you say I need to leave room for questions? So I will open the floor at this time for questions. Thank you so much for inviting me. Please.
How do you get the word out to developers about that last one, the linked? That reduces their loan by 3%.
So it started as a pilot program. And by the time I finished the first deal in the pilot program, which is, it's called Lockbourne Green. It's on the corner of Smith and Lockbourne Road, Southeast Columbus, Ohio. It was WODA Company, Healthy Homes, Community Development for All People went together to put this product on the market. By the time we finished that, the word had spread between developers. We have quite a few projects coming up. We have closed 3 to date. Another one with WODA Cooper in Whitehall called the Enclave. One with Mike Kelly. It is the Deal, where the Deal Whitaker Funeral Home used to be, in affordable housing. Well, mixed income housing is going there, mixed use and mixed income housing. We've got a few more coming up, couple in Whitehall, couple on a very interesting one just popped up. Fairfield Homes is doing something on Gay Street downtown. They're doing affordable housing. And then there's a project that we're doing in the old YMCA on East Long Street. And there's a project coming up right outside of the downtown library, close to the Topiary Park. And these are all affordable and or mixed income housing with enough affordable units that it is able to fall under the different tax breaks. And we have kind of figured out, we don't want a lot of affordable housing in just one area. It's best to always have mixed income to spread it out and not create pockets of poverty. So, yes, ma'am.
Do you follow much of what's happening out in Lincoln County or mostly just Franklin? Like I live out here where all of the Intel development is happening, and they're telling us our property taxes are gonna go up about 40% in the next couple of years. And I know there's a lot of people that have lived out there for generations and have farms and that are very worried about being priced out of their homes.
So that's pretty much what happened to a lot of people right here in Franklin County right now. 40% is probably the ceiling on where we saw the increase. I know your treasurer. I do follow the news there because of Intel. I mean, it's kind of hard not to follow what's going on there. I would say you want to get ahead of you want to get ahead of this right now. And getting the legislative body to move, because we are the only ones that are actually experiencing it already. We have one of the first collections. Most of the other counties collect in February or March. We collect in January and we collect in June. The other counties seem to be on a different schedule, although the code tells us to do it in January and June. Every year they extend so that they don't have to do it till, you still do it every 6 months, but they just hate the January, June. They have more housing units than they need. Their rents and mortgages appear comfortable for them. So their representatives don't understand what we're feeling right now. And they are being responsive to their constituents. They don't mean to leave us out in the cold like this. But out of 88 counties, we're the only one going through it, which is why we are trying to flag. And I'm telling people, don't just call your representative, call everybody, help them understand that right now you're in the fire already. So yeah, get ahead of it as much as possible. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What are the metrics or the parameters around the STAR program? How much money do you have at your disposal and what sorts of donations, what the rate of donation, that sort of thing?
So the fund is housed at the Columbus Foundation. The name of the fund is Starfish, named after the child who was catching the starfish, you know. And that may not help every starfish, but at least can help that one. So currently there's only $12,000, I think, in it. We have not done a fundraiser in a little over a year.
Yep, January 2023.
Last fundraiser we did was a telethon. It was a lot of fun. It was not as productive as we had hoped. We put the program under the microscope of the prosecuting attorney's office to get some additional guardrails put in place, and it is still under review. And as soon as they let it go, everybody in the world will know, because we're going to start fundraising again, and we have a far reach, and we will be able to open up those gates again and begin helping people.
And is it the long-term goal that you'll keep digging deeper into the need? Like it doesn't need to just be foreclosure, people on the brink of foreclosure?
Absolutely. We started there because those are the most highest at-risk people. We will want to be able to just help anybody who needs that help that year. Our goal is that they only need help one time. We don't have that as a hard rule right now, because we find that the people who were that close to foreclosure or in foreclosure might need help, at least another time or two. But we're trying to make sure that we align them with the correct resources that helps them literally stabilize. If not, there are other options that we're putting into place with a few different agencies, such as the land trust. We're experimenting or thinking about the idea of the land trust buying the house and then the individual staying on as a full-time resident for the remainder of their life. We're just looking at different ways to make sure they are not unhoused. Yes, sir.
I like the idea of calling the senator or representative from our area. But when I call them, what do I tell them? What do I ask them to do?
Well, in this kit, we've got a script on what you can say when you call. We have a template for the letter. All you have to do is fill in your own name, and all you got to do is just roll with it. Yes. That's why we call it a little kit. It's got everything. And there's one here, there's some on the table. It's best if I were to send it to somebody here in the club, and then they can send you the electronic link. Then you just fill your name in, all of the paperwork's done. You don't have to recreate the letter. And there's links to help individuals who may not know what the process is or what each body is responsible for. And there's just some educational things in here as well. So it's a really kind of cool little kit. Yes, sir.
I thought decades ago, there was a bill passed that limited the rise outside millage that was allowed without a separate vote. That still exists? Does it not work anymore, or what?
I really can't answer that because I'm not sure which bill you're referring to. I want to say no, it doesn't exist because we have already exceeded, but I don't want to, as your government representative, make that statement and I not know. I would need to research that and look into it.
I thought it limited the taxes collected for the dollars that were voted as opposed to the millage that was voted. And the millage was supposed to go down, the value of the house.
Yeah, I can't speak to it, but I will definitely look it up. I'm kind of a research geek, so you gave me something to do today. Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is germane to your topic, but it mystifies me how this Columbus City Council can approve the developer's request to build a 15-story apartment building and not put any parking spaces in that building.
So that's an argument that I hear a lot. And what I hear on two different sides is a younger population says we need to get away from cars and parking and vehicles anyway, and they would love to see more mass transit. And they think that this might be transcendental. People my age, I want my car and I want a parking space. So there are constituents who no longer believe that there needs to be a parking ratio to housing ratio. They believe we should be investing more in mass and less in individual. So we have that divide. We have that divide now. And I'm not going to weigh in on either side. I think I kind of did, but there literally are arguments that state we should be investing more in mass transit and less in making room for all of these individual cars that are.
One more question, if we have one more.
I was upset with your office a few years ago. But I came back from vacation with a pile of mail on January 29th and went to the Dublin office and post office and put my check in the mail. And somewhere in April, I got a notice of a late payment. And so I called up and I got a nice response and they said, well, you paid on February 2nd. And they sent me a copy of everything back in the mail. I appealed it. So it was the Dublin post office that postmarked it 3 days later, or 4 days later, after putting it in the box. But I sent a letter of appeal and it was a good response and everything like that. So how you keep track of all of that is amazing, and that you responded. So you resolved it well, and I think it's just and you also impressed me with your talk today.
Thank you, sir. So paying by mail is always risky. At least since 2020, it became very risky. Sometimes it doesn't even show up. And then there was a small amount of time where people were actually stealing mail or mailboxes. We do try to be as flexible as possible, and again, that's the statute that says we have to go by the postmark. I'd have the best customer service people, I mean, literally, best in the world. Another thing I guess we're proud of is we have quite a few workforce development relationships that we've established with different agencies around the city, because we like to be able to hire people that otherwise may not have been able to find a very good job with a living wage. So we work with Columbus Urban League, we work with Columbus, we work with Freedom a la carte, we work with Columbus Works, and we also work with Overlook Cafe on the 16th floor. And we provide a position, and we have one position always for each of those agencies. Any of the individuals that complete their programs that would like to come and interview with us, they're more than welcome to, but we have at least one position that each of those agencies will always have as long as I'm the treasurer. So we have become a pipeline to get, and this group of people is kindest, most caring. They're going to spend as much time as it takes to assist people because they're so grateful, it seems. I don't know what it is, but they're just so grateful, and that they come in through customer service. We got the best customer service in the entire government. Thank you, everybody.